Last week we started with Revelation chapter 13, and hopefully we can make some good progress this afternoon. But Brother Ayaye did ask a question. He did ask a question last week. When you compare Revelation 13, the beast in Revelation 13, with the little horn in Daniel 7, the description is very, very similar. How do we reconcile these two places? Because we believe that the one in Daniel 7 is speaking about something that happened back in history when it says that the little horn made war against the saints and wore out the saints of the Most High. We believe that happened way back in history during the Dark Ages. And now, based on what I have been presenting, it seems like I'm saying that the beast in chapter 13 is focused on something in the future. It seems that way. So that's one of the things I want to be able to at least look at more closely this week. I'm not by any means suggesting that what I'm sharing is infallible. I'm not suggesting this. I know when it comes to prophecy, everybody has a different idea. But at least what I will say is what I want us to do is to examine closely so that all of us can understand the pros and the cons. Why do we think this can work and why don't we think this can't work? At least we can understand what we are looking at. I really have an earnest desire that we not be like some of the people who grew up in the dark and they don't have a clue what they're talking about. The thing is that when we understand the context of Revelation, I think on this, I'm very, very strong. I understand what the book of Revelation is about. It's about the end time. It's about the confrontation between the two kingdoms. I'm very, very certain about that, as certain as I can be. It's about an examination of the two kingdoms. That is the context of the book of Revelation. It's about the final vindication of the government of God through Jesus Christ when it is put in contrast, in opposition to the government of Satan through the beast. That's what the book of Revelation is about. And so, in some of the details, we may sometimes take a wrong turn. We might. I'm not saying we have, I'm not saying that, you know, it's not possible that we can have everything right, but I'm saying that it's difficult for us to be certain of everything. Very difficult. But if we understand the general context, the overall context, we won't be far wrong. That's what I'm saying. Now, last week, for the past couple of weeks, we have been looking at the part 2 of Revelation. Part 1 was was examining the kingdom of Christ. We might refer to that sometimes as the Christian church, the history of the Christian church. Because the Christian church, the history of the Christian church is really the history of the kingdom of Christ. Because when Jesus came, he said, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And he set up that kingdom, not in a glorious form, not the kingdom of glory, but he set up the kingdom in the hearts of his people, the kingdom of grace. He told the Pharisees, the kingdom of God is within you. It is something that is to be set up within, not outside. And that kingdom was set up at Pentecost. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 10 tells us that when Satan was cast out of heaven, the voices in heaven said, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. So we know that that kingdom was set up at that time. And so Revelation examines the history of this kingdom of Christ. When the books are opened, the kingdom of Christ is examined, and we see that unfolded in the opening of the 7 seals. Now, the second part of Revelation is looking at the other kingdom. It's looking at the same history, but this time from the perspective of the kingdom of the beast or the kingdom of Satan. So that's where we are. Last week we looked at the fact that there was a beast that came up out of the sea, and This beast the dragon stood on the shore of the sea. The dragon stood on the seashore, and a beast came up out of the sea having 7 heads and 10 horns. And what we were trying to do last week is to settle on the identity of this beast. Who is this beast? What is this beast? And how are we to understand the things that are said about this beast? Now, I'm going to take some time this week and try to establish the identity of this beast. Now, this beast comes up. We're going to go. Let me go back to the Bible. This beast comes up 4 places in the book of Revelation. I'm going to look at those 4 places, and I'm going to clearly identify that in all of those places it's talking about this beast. Now let me explain why. Okay, let me first of all write down what I'm saying. The beast appears 4 times. All right, the first time it appears in Daniel 11. Not Daniel. It appears in Revelation 11. The second time it appears in Revelation 13. The third time it appears in Revelation 17. And the fourth time it appears in Revelation 19. All right, in those 4 chapters we see the beast appearing. In Revelation 11 it is described as the beast from the bottomless pit. In Revelation 13 it is described as the beast from the sea. In Revelation 17 it is described as the beast from the bottomless pit. Well, actually, in Revelation 17, it's described in several ways. First of all, John saw the woman sitting on the beast in the wilderness. But then later on, the angel says that the beast will arise from the bottomless pit and will go into perdition. And then in Revelation 19, it's not really given any label as to which beast or where this beast is focused, where the focus is. Now, I want to look at each of these places because I want to prove to you that this beast, it's only one beast in Revelation. Now, let me give a little caveat. Let me correct that a little bit. There is another beast, okay? There is the two-horned beast. All right, let me give this one a different color to make sure that we don't become confused. There's a two-horned beast, and this one, I'm not I'm not identifying this one as the beast at all, because it's only called the two-horned beast in Revelation 14, Revelation 13. I'm sorry, but everywhere else, this second beast is referred to as the false prophet. All right, so this is the name of the second beast. This is the title of the second beast. So I'm not going to identify this beast as a beast at all, although it's called a beast. Right? I'm admitting that it's called a beast, but it is more often referred to as a false prophet. Everywhere else that you see the beast referred to, it's talking about this beast. Beast number 1 appears 4 times in Revelation, and every time it appears, it is referred to as the beast. But beast number 2 is only referred to the beast as in Revelation 13, but everywhere else it's a false prophet. So We are going to be talking about the beast, and I mean beast number one. I'm not talking about beast number two at all. Now I'm going to show you that beast number one is always, anywhere you see the word the beast, it's always referring to beast number one. All right, all of that can be a little bit confusing. I'm going to use my drawing to kind of illustrate that a little bit. All right, now let's go back to our Bible. Let's go back to our Bible. All right, so the first time we see the beast mentioned in Revelation is Revelation 11, not chapter 13, Revelation 11. Now remember that Revelation 11, from Revelation, let me go back here. From Revelation, I need more room. From Revelation 4 to Revelation 11 is focused on the kingdom of Christ. So it's not focused on the beast. The emphasis of Revelation 4 to 11 is the kingdom of Christ. So you don't see much of the beast. This is part one of Revelation, part one of the book of the judgment. Okay, so it's not focused on the beast at all. It's not focused on the beast kingdom. So you don't see much of the beast in this passage. The beast only appears one time in this first section of Revelation, because the focus is not the kingdom of the beast, but he's mentioned one time. And let's see where he's mentioned. He's actually mentioned in Revelation 11, where it talks about his attack upon the two witnesses. It says in verse 7, when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. That's the only time you see the beast mentioned in the first part of Revelation. And he's only mentioned because it points out that he is the agent that kills the two witnesses. It is through him that Satan will work to put an end to the testimony of the two witnesses. So at this point, notice he's referred to as the beast that comes out of the bottomless pit. Now there's no question who this beast is. I'm going to go to Revelation 17 and show you who this beast is. Let's use the right panel. Revelation 17. You come down to verse what is it, verse 8?
Verse 7.
All right, I'm going to go to verse 7. Verse 8. All right, verse 8 says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. You see, it's exactly the same as it says in Revelation 11. So the beast in Revelation 11 and the beast in Revelation 17 are the same entity. It doesn't say a beast, it says the beast. Is described in a particular way. His identity is he is the one who comes from the bottomless pit. In other words, there's only one such beast in existence. Nowhere in the book of Revelation, probably nowhere else in history, has there ever been such a beast or such a kingdom. This kingdom is peculiarly identified as the kingdom that comes from the bottomless pit. It's a kingdom that is associated with the government of Satan in a very marked way. Now we know that the bottomless pit is a reference to, I pointed out, it refers to some place or some condition where Satanism has taken over, where the Spirit of God has basically departed. And if you look at Revelation 9, you'll see where it is mentioned in verse 1. It says, the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit. So the bottomless pit is seen as a place where, from which satanic influences arise. And it says it in another place. Let me see. It says in verse 11, when you talk about the locusts who have the power to hurt men for 5 months, it says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. That's clearly Satan. Apollyon meaning the destroyer. So the angel of the bottomless pit is Satan. So the bottomless pit is referring to a condition where satanic influences are in control. Satanism has gained the ascendancy, and I would identify it as a place where the Spirit of God has stopped working. So anywhere you see this phrase, the bottomless pit, my understanding is that it means a condition where probation has closed, the Spirit of God has departed from the earth, and mankind is left to the control of satanic forces. That's what I understand. So when it says in Revelation 17, the beast shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, I understand this to mean that when Satan's kingdom re-emerges, I don't want to go too deeply into chapter 17, but just to understand, it says that the beast of chapter 7, there are 7 heads, and when the 7 heads are fallen, the beast himself will become the 8th king. When he becomes the 8th king, it is because he will come out of the bottomless pit. He's going to come from the bottomless pit. The beast is going to arise in his true nature and his true identity out of a condition where the Spirit of God has departed from the world. That's when we're going to see the beast from the bottomless pit. In other words, the beast has been here before. But when he came the first time, and when the beast has been here during the previous ages, he did not come from the bottomless pit. He originated from the sea, and he continued to function in that way. But when he arises the last time, he seems to die and he seems to come back to life. And when he comes back to life, it is out of a condition where the Spirit of God has left the world. That is why the final reign of the beast is going to be so terrible against God's people, because it's a condition where Satan's principles have taken over the world. It's the bottomless pit. So, back to chapter 11, back to that verse again. It says, the 2 witnesses will prophesy. They prophesy, and when they finish their testimony, this satanic kingdom will make war against them and overcome them and kill them. This is because the Spirit of God has left the world. This is because God's witness in the planet has come to an end. There's no more hope for humanity. And at this time, the 2 witnesses die. Or in other words, salvation, the time for salvation is past, and the influence of God's Spirit in the world has come to an end. The Word of God and the Spirit of God have come to an end. Their influence has ended. And so they are killed. Effectively, they are killed. We went through this before. And it is this satanic kingdom, that really induces the end of the witness of God's Word and God's Spirit. So this is where the beast is first mentioned in Revelation 11. At the end here, it's the end of time, but it's the history of the kingdom of Christ, and it shows you that at the end, this beast from the bottomless pit will put an end to this witness of God's people. So that's the first time the beast is mentioned. Now we see, as we just pointed out, that it's the same beast mentioned in Revelation 17. It is the beast that shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Now, I'm making this point because there are some, I'm going to try to just put an end to some of the foolishness that some people sometimes present. There are some people, I don't want to call names. You know what? I'm going to try to do this chronologically. I'm going to try to do it in an order that we can follow my train of thought. Okay? I, 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 I was looking at Revelation chapter 19 and I saw something that caused me to really ask some questions. And that is where I came to really have a better understanding of this beast. Let's go to Revelation 19 and look quickly. Look at the end of Revelation 19, down near the end of chapter 19. Revelation 19 is that chapter where it talks about the coming of Jesus. And look at what it says. And I saw the beast. Notice again it says the beast. It doesn't say I saw a beast. I saw the beast. There's only one of them. The other one is called a false prophet. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. That's Jesus. They're gathered to make war against Jesus. That is when he's returning the second time. And the beast was taken. Same the beast, not a beast. And with him the false prophet. Now remember what we said. This false prophet is who? It's the second beast. But he's referred to as a false prophet. He's never again referred to as a beast. Only when he first emerges in Revelation 13, John says, I saw another beast rising up out of the earth. But he's never again called the beast. He's always called a false prophet. So we are not mistaken who we are talking about. We are talking about the beast, and we are talking about the false prophet, which, as we understand, is supposed to be the United States of America. We haven't come to that yet, but we are going to come there. So, the beast in Revelation 11 is the beast. The beast in Revelation 17 is the beast from the bottomless pit. And in chapter 19 here, we see the beast again. Same beast. Not a beast, but the beast. Now, the key to connecting all of these together is really Revelation 17. Now, here's the point. As always, it's very hard for me to comment on this without bringing Adventist beliefs into it. Right? I'm trying hard not to make this limited to Adventism so that we all have an open mind. But the problem is that a lot of the background information I have is based on what I learned in Adventism. So I'm acutely aware of the teachings of Adventism. Now, when you go to Revelation 17, a problem comes up with Adventist teaching. Okay? Adventists believe that the beast is Adventists believe that the beast is the papacy. All right? Let me see. I'm going to have to use my other screen. Give me a moment. I want to scribble a little bit, and I have to use my other screen. All right. So here's the problem. According to Adventists, there is this beast. This beast represents the papacy. All right. Now there is let's pretend this is a woman. There's a woman sitting on the beast whose name is Babylon, and they say that this woman represents the Roman Catholic Church. This is Adventist teaching, and this is what I believed for most of my life. The beast is the papacy and the woman is the Roman Catholic Church. Now, the problem is that as we pointed out, there are 10 horns on this beast. 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 horns on this beast, and according to what we read in Revelation 17, these 10 horns are going to hate this woman. Well, actually, this woman. They're going to hate the woman. They're going to eat her flesh and make her naked and burn her with fire. I'm going to go to the Bible in a little while and we're going to actually look at the verses. These 10 horns here, these 10 horns, they're going to destroy this woman. Okay? So, the question is, how can the 10 horns, which are a part of the papacy, a part of the beast, how can the beast turn around and destroy the Roman Catholic Church? Because if the beast is a papacy and the woman is the Roman Catholic Church, it's essentially the same thing. The papacy is just the umbrella under which the Roman Catholic Church exists, or vice versa. The papacy, the Roman Catholic Church is the umbrella under which the papacy exists. There are two different sides of the same coin. If the papacy cannot destroy the Roman Catholic Church because it is the same thing, essentially. But this is what Adventists teach. And so what they do to try to get around this, they say that the beast in Revelation 17, this beast, they say it's different from the beast that we see in Revelation chapter 13. They say this one in 13 is the papacy, and this one in chapter 17 is not really the papacy. They try to make a difference between, they say this one is different from this one. All right, and you have to say this, because if you say it is the same beast, then you turn up with the illogical conclusion that the Roman Catholic Church destroys itself, which is nonsense, obvious nonsense. So what they have to do, they have to try to say that the beast in 13 and the one in 17 is different. And what some of them say is that this one in chapter 17 is actually Satan. All right, they say this one is actually Satan. And how do they come to that conclusion? Let me explain how they come to that conclusion. Remember last week we saw that the dragon that we saw in Revelation 12. Let me use a different color for the dragon. The dragon he also has 7 heads, 10 horns. And he's also scarlet colored. Let me try to clear up this mess and write it more legibly. All right, there's a great red dragon. Seven heads, 10 horns. In Revelation 17, there is a scarlet beast. 7 heads, 10 horns. Scarlet and red are kind of similar, okay? So what they say is that the scarlet beast is really the dragon. That's what they say. So what they mean is that John kind of, let me be facetious, let me be a bit sarcastic. What they are really saying is that John got confused. When he was in Revelation 12, he called it a dragon. But by the time he got to Revelation 17, he forgot and he called it a beast. God is not that confused. John very clearly knew the difference between a dragon and a beast. That's why in Revelation 12, he says there was a great red dragon. And in Revelation 13, he says there's a beast that came up out of the sea. The dragon stood on the seashore, and the beast came up. John knows the difference between a beast and a dragon. When he comes to Revelation 20, he says the dragon is cast into the bottomless pit. He's not making any mistake. There's a clear distinction in Revelation between the dragon and the beast and the false prophet. In Revelation chapter 16, John says, I saw three unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. They are not the same, and they are not confused. So when John says in chapter 17, he saw a woman sitting on a scarlet colored beast, it's not the dragon, it's not Satan. Now, Adventists have, well, let me say, I don't want to label everybody, but many Adventists have said that the beast F-17 is the same as the dragon because they need to do this. They need to find a way to explain why is it that the beast destroys the woman, because they have made a mistake. They say that the beast is the papacy and the woman is the Catholic Church. And then they have a conundrum. They have a problem now because the beast turns around and destroys the woman, and they can't explain how that happens. They can't explain how the Catholic Church destroys itself. So what they try to do is to say that this beast this beast is not really a beast. It's a dragon. So what they say is that Satan is the one who destroys the Catholic Church. But that's not what the prophecy says. Prophecy says. It says it is the beast. And the way you have to understand it, the way you can explain it is by saying that this beast here is not the papacy. It is not the papacy. The beast is not the papacy. That's the way you can explain it. And that is one of the things that led me to understand that the beast is not the papacy. The woman riding the beast represents the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church has been riding the beast for ages. And before it was the Roman Catholic Church, it was the pagan systems of religion. They have been riding, this false religious system has been riding the beast for centuries, generations. But at the end of time, the beast will turn around and destroy the false religious system. But the beast is not the papacy. That's the point. So if the beast is not the papacy, then that applies to Revelation 11. It applies to Revelation 13. It applies to Revelation 17. It applies to Revelation 19. In all of these places where the beast appears, it is not the papacy. So that leads to the conclusion that the teaching that the beast is the papacy is wrong. Now I'm going to show you one other place. Let's go back to the Bible. I'm going to show you one other place to demonstrate that the beast cannot be the papacy. Let's go back again to Revelation 19 where we were a little earlier on. Revelation 19, look at what it says. We just looked at this passage. It says that the beast and the kings of the earth were gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse. This is the coming of Jesus. You know it's the coming of Jesus because when you go a little further, it talks about somebody coming on a white horse, and he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. This is the coming of Jesus. So the beast is there. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together. The beast is there. At this point, where is the woman Babylon? Ask yourself that question. Where's the woman Babylon at this point? Go back to chapter 18 and you'll see where the woman Babylon is. It says, her plagues shall come in one day, death and mourning and famine. She shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And it talks about the kings of the earth wailing and lamenting over her when they see the smoke of her burning. And it says, in 1 hour your judgment is come. It talks about Babylon being burned. This is the destruction by the 10 horns. And it says, in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught. Babylon is gone. Babylon is burned. It says they cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And it says, rejoice over her, you heaven, and you apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you on her. This is God's vengeance against Babylon, to use the words of Revelation. And an angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Now this is the destruction of Babylon. It says, the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. The voice of the bridegroom, the voice of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. This is when Babylon is destroyed by the 10 horns. And you can read about that in chapter 17, where it says, the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. So God uses the 10 horns as judgment upon Babylon. So Babylon is gone. But then a little later, you see the beast is still there. Where's the beast? The beast is there, gathered together with the kings of the earth and their armies to make war at the coming of Jesus. So Babylon is not the same as the beast. That cannot be. Babylon is destroyed by the 10 horns, but the beast remains alive and well, and he's there waiting to fight when Jesus is coming. It was looking at these prophecies that made me understand, that showed me very clearly that no, this idea that the beast is a papacy is wrong. Now I don't know if there's anybody who does not understand what I'm trying to say. If what I'm trying to say, if the sequence of it doesn't make sense, or you can't follow what I've been trying to say, please unmute and let me know, because I want to know exactly where I have been. There's been a gap in what I'm saying.
Yes, Brother David,
Yes, brother Ayayi.
I understand what you're saying, but my question is, when you look at the description of the little horn and the period of time it's supposed to work, and that is the exact thing for the beast in Revelation 13. So is it there? Is what's my problem about that is it that the both activities are combined there in Revelation 13? Because when we look at the fourth empire in Daniel 7, when it talks about Rome, then verse 25 is talking about the little one, which is a little bit more different from the lion, right?
Yes, I
Yes.
fully understand the question, but I just didn't get around to addressing it yet. But I understand the question, and I am going to get to it. Okay. But I understand the point you're making. And as I said last week, maybe I don't have a perfect answer, but at least what we can do is explore it clearly, openly, and see if we can come to some kind of resolution of it. But I'm going to come to it, absolutely. I wouldn't leave it alone. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands the scenario that I've put before us. And everybody understands why, if we follow the biblical descriptions, it is not possible for this beast to be the papacy. It is not possible. The only way we could maybe come to some kind of idea that it might be the papacy, what we would have to do is to take the woman out of the picture and say that the woman has no connection with the Roman Catholic system. The woman that we call Babylon, the mother of harlots, and the abomination of the earth. We'd have to say it has nothing to do with Roman Catholicism. Then we might be able to fit. Then we might be able to fit the Roman Catholicism with the beast. We could say if the beast has something to do with the papacy, then you have to divorce the woman completely from Catholicism. But we can't have it both ways. We can't say the beast has to do with the Catholicism and the woman has to do with Catholicism. No, That's unreasonable and nonsensical because it is the beast through the 10 horns that wipes out the woman. And
That's
when the woman,
why
yes,
that's why one time I was a little bit skeptical about the idea of saying that the Babylon is the Roman Catholic because the woman, you gave me the answer already before, but the woman at a certain point, we have a woman in chapter 12, and then in chapter 17, John wondered why, and the Bible said that he was taken into the wilderness. And in chapters 12, that other woman also went into the wilderness. And okay, so thank you.
yeah, okay, brother Ali. And as you say, we did look at that before. Now, the remaining beast that we haven't looked at this evening yet, the remaining manifestation of the beast is the one that we are focused on at present, which is the description in chapter 13. So we saw that the beast in chapter 11 is connected to the one in chapter 17 and the one in 19. We have seen it's the same beast. So it's reasonable to conclude that the one in 13 is the same beast. Okay? There are so many things that point this out to us. For example, the beast is seen having 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast is seen as having upon his head the name of blasphemy. Same exact description we see on the beast in chapter 17. So you really have to do a lot of twisting of the scripture to say it's not the same beast. What we see is that it's the same beast, but the one in 17 is at a particular moment in time. Now, the beast in chapter 13, let me highlight this point. And again, maybe I should go back to my screen, my drawing screen, because again, I think drawing, scribbling it makes it easier to follow. Okay, it moves a little slowly. All right, yes. So the difference is that, okay, let me point this out. The beast has a reign that covers 7 heads. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. The beast is seen having 7 heads, and it has 10 horns. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there are 10 horns on the beast, and there are 7 heads. Now, as we pointed out last week, 5 of the heads are gone. One, two, three, 4. These 5 heads have fallen. One head exists now, and the other head, we don't know what it's going to be, because the angel says that this head is not yet come. All right, we kind of speculating a little bit about head number 7. Now, in Revelation 7, we see that the beast comes up out of the sea, from the sea. In Revelation 17, we see that the beast comes from the bottomless pit. From the bottomless pit. All right. Now, if you just look at the description, it might look to you like it's two different entities, because one comes from the sea and one comes from the bottomless pit. But let me see if I can resolve that. So it's one beast, but he has 7 heads and 10 horns. All of this is the beast. All right. Now, during this first time period, how many beasts were there? You might not agree. I say that this first period here represents the time when Egypt was the ruling empire. You might not agree with that, okay? Whether you agree or not. The point is that during this time, whatever that first head was, how many heads did the beast have? Only one head. One head. During the second period of time, when the second head arrived, how many heads did the beast have? Only one head. During all of these time periods, and any time period you want to get to, the beast always has only one head. There's never any time when the beast has 7 heads. Always only one head, one head, one head, one head, until you come to the end here where he has 0 heads. No heads, right? When the beast emerges as king number 8, there's no head, because the 7 heads will rule as 7 kings. And when the 7th head is gone, the beast comes up as king number 8. But at that point, it's after the rule of the 7 heads. And at that time, instead of having a head, instead of the head, the beast has 10 horns. Okay, now, if you look at the beast as a whole, of course he has 7 heads and 10 horns. Of course he has 7 heads and 10 horns. But if you look at the beast at one point in time, let us say you look at the beast at the present moment in time here, right? If you look at the beast at this present moment, how many heads does he have? He has only one head. And he has no horns. At present, the beast has one head and no horns. So if you want to look at the beast as an individual, at an individual moment in time, it's different than when you look at the beast as an entirety. In its entirety, what God does, he gives us what you call a panoramic view. He gives us a panoramic view. I give it that name. It's a panorama. And all of us are familiar with what a panorama is. Um, Today, you can use your camera and take like 10 shots. Move the camera and take 10 shots, and then many cameras will be able to stitch them together and make one big picture. Sometimes it can take a 360-degree view. In other words, it's one shot that takes in everything, one picture that takes in everything. And that's what God gives us in Revelation 13. He's giving us a panoramic view of the beast, complete with his 7 heads and everything. But then you go to Revelation 17, God kind of zeroes in at a specific moment in time. Because at this moment in time in Revelation 17, it says that the 10 horns have 10 crowns. 10 crowns. We don't see that in chapter 13. So it's showing us that at the time we are looking in chapter 17, God is focusing on this aspect of the beast, this time period. By the time you come to Revelation 17, all of these are gone. They are kind of irrelevant. They are in the past. This one is mentioned briefly before you move on to the time of the 10 horns, because that's the key focus of Revelation 17. Remember, in Revelation 17, God says, I'm going to show you what? What is he showing John? I'll show you the judgment of the great war. That's the point of Revelation 17. God says, I'm going to show you the judgment of the great whore. So this is the focus of Revelation 17. That's the main emphasis. It's talking about the time of the judgment of the whore. And what it shows you is that God uses the 10 horns to judge the whore. In 1 hour are your judgments come. But so we can understand the nature of this beast, God still shows us all of this. We still see the seven heads and all of that, because God is giving us a background information so we can follow up to where we are at this point. But in Revelation 13, God gives us an entire panorama of the beast. Okay? Now again, I'm hoping that what I said there is something we can understand. Because what I'm trying to do is to help us to understand why it says in Revelation 13 that the beast comes up out of the sea. Remember that in Daniel 7, Babylon came up out of the sea. There was war on the sea, Daniel 7. I don't think I should need to go to that, but I'm always conscious that there may be some people among us who are kind of new to these prophecies, and I still need to maybe kind of take my time and go slowly. Sometimes I just want to rush ahead. But in Daniel 7, it says that Daniel had a dream and he saw, and he says, behold, the four winds of the heaven were fighting upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, different one from another. So in Daniel 7, it is represented that that the kingdoms of the world are coming up out of the sea. These kingdoms are coming from the sea. Now, these are the same kingdoms that form a part of the beast that we see there in Revelation 13. Now, I don't know if somebody wants to ask something. I hear a little noise. All right, I just need to mute everybody then. Um, mute, mute all. Okay. Right. So you have let me explain why this is so. If you look at Daniel 7 here again, what you can see is that God represents warfare among the nations as the four winds of heaven fighting. These four animals represented the kingdoms of Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. How did these kingdoms arise to power? Well, Babylon defeated Medo-Persia. No, I'm sorry. Babylon was defeated by Medo-Persia. Medo-Persia was overthrown by Greece. Greece was overthrown by Rome. These beasts came into power by warfare, by fighting among the nations. And the nations are represented as the sea, multitudes of people. So the four winds of heaven were fighting upon the great sea. It represents warfare among the nations. And that is how these nations that constituted the beast, that is how they came into existence, by warfare among the nations. So they were said to come up out of the beast in its origins was said to come up from the sea. But I want to point out something to you now. When it comes to Revelation 17, when the beast emerges the final time, he does not come from the sea. He disappears for a time and he comes back. It says, the beast that thou sawest was, that's the seven heads, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. When the beast reappears the last time, he comes from the bottomless pit. In other words, this beast is not going to arise through warfare among the nations. We might see that, Russia and Ukraine are at each other's throats, and we might fear that there's going to be a war breaking out between NATO and some of these eastern countries. Maybe that may happen, but according to the prophecy, I think there's an emphasis that the beast does not arise. When he comes back, he does not come from the sea. He does not arise based on conflict among the nations. Because previously, the beast always became dominant in the world by defeating other kingdoms. But how does he arise the final time? How does he come back into power at the end? He comes back into power at the end because of Satan's influence in the world. It comes from the bottomless pit. It is satanic influence that causes this beast. It's satanic principles that causes the beast to emerge the last time. It's not warfare among the nations. It's Satanism dominating the nations that make the way for the beast to arise. This time, not from the sea, not through warfare among the nations, but through satanic influences from the bottomless pit. You see the difference? So, this is why in chapter 13 it says the beast arises from the sea. And why in chapter 17 it says he arises out of the bottomless pit. It's not a contradiction. The same beast that has been coming out of the sea for every one of the heads, when it finally emerges without a head, it comes from the bottomless pit. It's Satanism in the world. In other words, it's Satanism, it's satanic dominance in the world at the end that recreates this beast, not warfare among the nations. So that's the point in chapter 17. All right, so Now let me get a little closer to Brother Ayayi's question. Now, let me go back to chapter 17. I have to keep comparing 17 and 13 because there are some things that we really need to point out. Let's go back to chapter 17. Look at chapter 17 here. This verse that we are looking at in the right panel, verse 8 of chapter 17. It says, the beast that you saw was and is not. Okay, that brings us up to the present time. And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. This is the near future. And go into perdition. When the beast arises the second from the bottomless pit, he is not to be overthrown by another kingdom. He's not to be defeated by some other kingdom. When the beast comes up the last time, when he disappears at this point now, he's going straight into perdition. That's why it says in Daniel that he's given to the burning flame. That's why it says in Revelation 19 that he's cast into the lake of fire. When he gets up this last time, when the next time we see the beast, brothers and sisters, will be the last time. When he's defeated this last time, he's going straight into perdition, total destruction, the lake of fire. But look at what it says. And they that dwell on the earth shall wander. Now, where did we see that it says the people would wander after the beast? Look at what it says in Revelation 13, back to chapter 13 in the left panel. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. Wandered. All the world wandered. Go to Revelation 17. They that dwell on the earth shall wander. Why am I pointing this out? I'm saying to you, there is a link between chapter 13 and chapter 17. This phrase gives us a time point. Now look at chapter 17 in the right panel. When is this? When is this? When is it that they that dwell on the earth shall wander? When is this? Look at the top again. The beast is not, shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. It is at this time when the beast comes up out of the bottomless pit. It is in this time period that those who dwell on the earth shall wander. Okay? It is when the beast comes out of the bottomless pit that the people who live on the earth shall wander after the beast. It is in that last period of time when the beast comes back to power, when the Spirit of God is being quenched out of the world, when Satanism is taking over the planet. That's when the beast comes back to power. And it says it is at this time that the people who live on the earth shall wander after the beast. And when you look at chapter 13, Adventists say that this healing of the deadly wound happened in 1929. And since that time, all the world has been wandering after the papacy. Let me tell you something. If this is true, then it means that the beast has already emerged from the bottomless pit. And if the beast emerged from the bottomless pit in 1929, we would have been in the mark of the beast crisis from 1929. Because when the beast comes up out of the bottomless pit, he kills the two witnesses. That's his purpose when he comes out of the bottomless pit. God's witnesses have not been under attack since 1929, except in people's imagination. So this healing of the deadly wound, I really have to reject the idea that this refers to something that happened to the papacy in 1929. This wandering after the beast is when the beast emerges for its final assault upon the people of God. And that is the time when it says, all the world will wander after the beast. We have not seen this, I don't believe. And the reason why I'm saying this, if you understand, if you are following me, I'm so convicted about this because I'm looking at Revelation 17. Revelation 17 is talking about the final assault of the beast at a point just before he destroys the woman. It's not talking about something in the distant history, in the dark ages. It's talking about something that is immediately before us in the future when Satanism takes over this planet. Look at it carefully and you will see The statement about the bottomless pit is a marker that we can look at. What does the bottomless pit mean? It's a statement of satanic portent. It's a description of a condition where Satanism has taken over. And it is telling us that this is the point where the beast re-emerges. At this point, when the bottomless pit conditions exist, everything points to the fact that this is a moment in time when Satanism has taken over the world. That has never happened before. Anybody who says it is in the past is dreaming. So it says, that's point number one. This statement about those living on the earth shall wander. It's a future situation. It goes on to say, and they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. Anybody here believes that has happened already? Do you see people worshiping Satan? I mean, I don't think it means that it will literally happen. I don't think anybody is going to bow down and say, "Hail Satan," even though it's happening in some places in the world. But it's talking about all the world worshiping Satan by worshiping the beast, by giving their allegiance to the beast. And the beast has gained such power at this point that they are able to say, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? In other words, the beast has risen to such a place of prominence in the world that it is clear that nobody can stand against this beast. And that is why the whole world is in amazement. Now, it is at this point that it says, there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. Now, I believe this is the time when the two witnesses are prophesying clothed in sackcloth. So I'm believing that this 42 months is referring to a literal 42 months or 3.5 years in the future. Now, I'm going to come back to Brother Ayayi's question about the little horn in Daniel 7. But let's continue first, and I'll come back to that in a little moment, right? It says, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. I know that the papacy has made blasphemous statements, okay? But based on the sequence that we are looking at, I am believing that this is something different. The Bible teaches us that, the Bible is written, the book of Revelation is written in the language of the Old Testament, as we have pointed out time and time again. And in the Old Testament, blasphemy is not really as specifically identified as some people have pointed out to the papacy. They say the papacy is a blasphemer because the Pope claims the name of Lord God the Pope. And they claim that the Pope say, and because the Pope says he's able to change God's times and laws, they say this is blasphemy. But if you go to the Old Testament, what is blasphemy? Is when somebody stands up and defies God, like you lift your hand to heaven and you say, God, I challenge you. Change my word. I challenge you to do this if you dare. When somebody makes outrageous statements against God. I can find you a couple of places in the Old Testament where people have spoken this. For example, okay, I don't want to drift from where I am and go and look for it. But you remember when the king of Assyria sent a message to the king of Judah, and he told him, which is that God who is going to save you? He says, where did the gods of Sepharvaim, and he names a few places, were they able to help them? He says, what makes you dream that Jehovah or Yahweh is going to be able to save you out of the hand of my master? No God can save you. And Hezekiah turned to the wall and he put the letter before God and he wept before God and he says, it is a day of blasphemy. That's the Old Testament definition of blasphemy. It is when somebody defies the God of heaven. It's not necessarily when somebody claims to be God. It is defiance of the God of heaven. So, what I believe is that when this beast begins to blaspheme against God, it is defiance of God. And it's not difficult to see this Because right now, today, the prominent nations of this planet are in total defiance of God. When you think of the ways in which they have defied God, okay? They, once upon a time, the leaders of the world used to have some kind of lip service. They gave lip service to the Creator. They had some kind of consciousness of the fact that there is a greater being and we are all accountable to this being. Evolutionary science and atheism has driven God out of the consciousness of the leaders of this world. That's why they can take steps like they're planning to modify human beings. They are stepping into the place where they are claiming that they have the power to make men into gods. The word of the Almighty God, the word of our Creator, means nothing to these people. So that it is irrelevant to them when God says something is wrong or God says something is right. It means not the snap of a finger to these people. God is nothing and nobody to them. The blasphemy has been taken to new elevations in the present world in which we live. So it's not surprising that when the beast kingdom emerges, his middle name is blasphemy. He's covered with names of blasphemy. It's an entity that is absolutely disrespectful of God in every way. It has nothing to do with God. That's the kind of entity
Brother
we.
David,
Yes,
Brother David,
yes, brother
what you
Art.
say is what you say is so true. If we are looking right now, we can see the emergence of this all over the place. Men
Absolutely.
are becoming blasphemous, bold, and defiant in a way that we've never seen it in history. And this is obviously the beast emerging from the bottomless pit. At the end of this whole episode, we can expect nothing but the eastern sky to be shattered.
Yes, we are almost there, brother Arthur. And when we come to Revelation 17, I will go into it more in detail. But it's hard. We can't mention the beast in one place without touching on it in different places, just that we make sure that we are talking about the same particular beast. So, yes, but we're going to go into more depth when we come to Revelation 17. Now, again, let's look at the next two verses. It says in verse 7, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. This is the part in particular that I'm going to focus on in response to Brother Ayayi's question. But I have one more thing to say before I actually compare it with Daniel 7. And here it talks about him being given power to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And where I am presently looking at the context and the sequence, I am believing this is referring to the 3.5 years when the two witnesses are prophesying in sackcloth. But I'll come back to this. Because it says in verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Here is another marker. Names written in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain from the foundation of the world. Or go back over to chapter 13. Look at in chapter 17, I'm sorry, in the right panel. Look at chapter 17. Back to verse 8. It's the same verse that says, they that dwell on the earth shall wander. And look how it describes them. Whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. Look back at chapter 13 in the left panel. It's the same exact phrase. Whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. Right panel, chapter 17, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. God is giving us a marker. When we see the same exact words used in different places, same exact words, God is saying that both events, both statements are referring to the same event, same time period. So we go to chapter 17, we look at chapter 17 and we see that this is talking about the time when the beast comes up out of the bottomless pit. Two things happen. Those who live on the earth shall wander, and they are characterized by being the people whose names were not written in the book of life from the beginning. In chapter 13, you see the same thing. It is telling you that chapter 13 is also focusing on that period of time where the beast makes its final assault upon the people of God. And that's why I'm saying that these statements, it was given unto him to make war with the saints, that's not talking about the dark ages. It's not talking about the past. It's talking about when the beast emerges from the bottomless pit. You connect it to Revelation 17 and you get the timing. So I believe that Revelation chapter 13 here is focusing specifically upon the last crisis. And that's why it tells you about another beast who comes up out of the earth, and he empowers the first beast. He gives loyalty and worship. He attracts loyalty to that first beast. So this first beast, which I believe is from the old world or from the European part of the world, he controls things over there, and the second beast controls things in this part of the world, in the new world, which we are going to look at more closely next week. But let me go back to Brother Ayayi's question. Like I said, I don't have a perfect answer for that question, but let's see what we can come up with. You go back to the book of Daniel and you go to Daniel chapter 7, and you see almost the same exact wording. Not the same, but very similar. It says, I think it's about verse 25. Speaking about this little horn, it says, he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and shall think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. If you look at what it says in Revelation 13, it seems to be very similar. It says, he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who live in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. It seems to be the same thing. All right, it seems so. And because of this, it has always been said that Revelation 13 is speaking about the same time period as Daniel 7. And it is one of the strong reasons why people conclude that the beast is the papacy. Why? Because in Daniel 7, it seems very clear that it is referring, in Daniel 7 over here, it seems clear that it's speaking about the papacy. And so the conclusion is that it's the same power here in Revelation 13. And if it's the papacy in chapter 7 of Daniel, then it must be the papacy in Revelation 13. Because if it's talking about the same work. Now, I admit that it's a very strong reason to come to that conclusion. But here's what I'm going to say. Here's my way of resolving it, at least for myself, until I can find a better way to resolve both things. Here's what I'm going to say. Many of the events that happened in the past have been represented as the Bible as being repeated. They are represented as being repeated in a different time, in a different context, in a different way. For example, the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet was fulfilled at the time of the destruction of Jerusalem, and yet it is to be fulfilled again at the end of time. Anybody who studies the prophecy understands that in Matthew 24, Jesus gave you two different fulfillments, two different incidents, two different ways in which that abomination of desolation is to be fulfilled. Daniel 12 also shows you clearly that the abomination of desolation is something that happens at the end of time. So we have the prophecies being repeated, in one case in a historical context, and in the other case in literal time. Now in Daniel 7, how do we know it's the papacy? Because it talks about the fourth beast, which we know to be Rome. I won't go into this. And Rome had 10 horns out of his head, which were 10 kingdoms that would arise. And then it says that, and that again is tempting because we can see at the end that the beast has 10 horns again. But it's different because these 10 horns in Daniel 7 are, are broken up by another horn, a little horn. Another shall arise after them. He shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue or he overthrows 3 of the kings. So in Daniel 7, you end up with 8 horns, not 10. There are 8 horns in Daniel 7. It starts out with 10, and it comes down to 8 because one horn arises, which is the papacy, and roots up 3 other horns. And so there are 8 horns in Daniel 7, not 10. We don't end up with 10. And we know it's not the same as the horns in Revelation 17 because those horns remain until the coming of Jesus. So when it says they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and dividing of time, when does this happen? This happens before the judgment, before the pre-advent judgment, because it is after the little horn has persecuted the saints. Then it says, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, the dominion of the little horn, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. Now I see this as fulfilled in the papacy. The papacy's dominion was taken away from 1798 and even before that, and it has been diminishing. And God says here that in the time of the judgment they would take away the dominion of this little horn to consume and destroy it until the end. Okay, so the little horn is going to be continually losing power, not gaining power. We see that the papacy has never regained the power that it once embraced during the Dark Ages. And some people expect that it will, but I think they're going to be disappointed because that's not what the Bible says. So, I believe that the time period here now in chapter 13 over here is a mirror or a repetition of the persecution of God's people. It's a great tribulation that is repeated at the end of time. This tribulation happened about 3 times. It happened the first time when Jerusalem was destroyed. It was great tribulation for the Jews. It happened again during the Dark Ages. It was great tribulation for God's people for 1260 years under the time of papal supremacy. And it happens again at the end. Right at the end, there's the last greatest tribulation, a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation. The persecution of God's people at the time when the 144,000 are being sealed. And that is the time when you have a repetition of these events. This time in real time, not in prophetic time. And at this point, it says that everybody who dwells on the earth shall worship this beast. And it's greater than what happened during the Dark Ages, because during the Dark Ages, it was only in one part of the world it happens. But now it happens all over the world. I'll just read 2 more verses and then stop for the evening. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Now, again, let me make a reference to how this is interpreted by Adventists. Adventists say that this refers to the fact that the Pope was being taken captive in 1798. But I wanted to look at what I consider to be the correct translation. Now, there are, well, I don't need to prove this to you, brethren, here. Right? We all understand that there are places where the translation of the King James Version is a little bit off. Not too often. King James Version is my favorite, like everybody else's, but there are some places where they were not quite perfect. And I wanted to look at how this verse is translated, and I believe it's in every other translation. It says in the NASB, this is a version I trust a lot. If anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he goes. If anyone kills with the sword, with the sword he must be killed. Here's the perseverance and faith of the saints. Let me go to another translation which I think puts it better. All right, this is the NAS, this is the NIV, which a lot of people don't like, but let's see what it says. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. I want you to look at this and I want to ask you which one makes more sense. According to how we have interpreted it because of the King James Version statement, it is saying that the Pope has been leading people into captivity and he went into captivity in 1798. The Pope was killing people with the sword, and with the sword he was killed in 1798. He actually wasn't killed, he was taken as a prisoner. And then it says, here's the patience and the faith of the saints. That's kind of out of sync. That doesn't make sense at that point. But if you follow the whole narrative of the whole passage coming down, and you see it as a persecution against God's people, all that dwell on the earth shall worship him, and he's making war with the saints. Then you come down to the verse that makes sense. Now it says, look here, this is God's statement to his people. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. Some of us will end up in prison. If anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. Jesus says they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. And that is why it says, this calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. It makes a lot more sense to me that this is what the verse is saying. It is saying that some of us are going to be taken captive. I hear you, I'm coming. Some of us are going to be taken captive. Some of us are going to be killed. We need patient endurance and we need to be faithful. It's a call for faithfulness on the part of God's people because of what is about to happen. Yes, somebody wanted to say something?
The latter make more sense, Brother David.
Thank you, Brother Arthur. I think so too. And I'm going to stop at this point. I've run out of steam. I know we didn't get very far, but I think it is important to have this background information as we go into Revelation 13. And if we're going slow, we're trying to be thorough because there is a lot of information and misinformation, and we want to be sure that even if we are wrong on some things, we're approaching the thing in a consistent way.